Get ready for the big revival, the real estate revival, that is. Now on 77 WABC, your New York weekend.
Get ready for the big revival.
It's Rand on Real Estate with Greg Rand.
Welcome to the big real estate revival. My name is Greg Rand. I'm your host on 77 WABC and WABCRadio.com. Calling all entrepreneurs, calling all optimists. This show is about lowering the barrier for everyday people like you and me to be able to create wealth, to retire like a rock star. We talked on the last show about my Uncle Richie, who lives among rock stars in his retirement now, and he was a fireman. How did he do it? He bought houses. I want that for you, and the show is all about kind of lowering the barrier for you to stoke your enthusiasm. Turn your interest, which I know you have. I know you're interested in real estate. Turn that interest into enthusiasm and then hopefully into action. We're sponsored this hour by Jacksonville Wealth Builders. Jacksonville Wealth Builders is a company that helps people in New York invest in real estate in Jacksonville, Florida. We're going to be talking to Alex Sifakis. I know him as Alex. Alex is the president of Jacksonville Wealth Builders. He's going to be on the show with us in a few minutes talking about what they do, how they do it, and the kind of people that come to them to help solve their investment problems. Really cool guy, great company. We're going to talk about that in the second segment. We have a lot to do today. We're going to take your calls. Don't forget to give us a ring, 800-848-WABC. That's 800-848-9222. And the kind of questions I want, anything about real estate is fine, but I want you to ask me about different places in the country that you might have interest in, and I can show you the way that I analyze markets. I may never even have heard of the town that you're calling about, but in a matter of minutes during the break, if you call and tell our call screener, Jennifer, what you're calling about, I can look up some stats on this thing, and I can teach you about a market that you might actually know better than me, but in the process, you're going to learn the way professional market analysts approach this, and then you can do it yourself. My website is ownamerica.com. All the tools that I use are all at ownamerica.com, and I'm going to encourage you to check it out there. And I'll refer to that a couple times during the show because I do the show prep on the website, on the blog, so things I talk about are actually there for you to go take a look at. So we're going to get into all that, but first I'm going to do Laura's favorite segment. Laura Smith is the producer here. Her favorite segment is called Smart People Saying Dopey Things About Real Estate, and I have to do it because there's always all these smart people out there with great Ivy League degrees who say the dopiest things about real estate, and my mission here is to help you understand that you actually know this better than them. If you have common sense and learn how to hear what they say and be able to parse it and figure out where they're being ridiculous and why they're wrong, my favorite is always Dr. Robert Schiller. Okay, Robert Schiller is the founder of the Case Schiller Index, and he's always on the news. He's always on CNBC, and he's always saying the dopiest things. And I'm going to play you a clip in a moment of an interview that he did just this week. And what's interesting about it is that 3 weeks ago, he was quoted in a Reuters story, and the headline was 20-year housing crisis. Okay, he predicted that maybe, he always says maybe because he's an economist, and they always say, well, it could be this or it could be that. But he said, he thinks maybe this could be the rest of our lifetimes before the housing market recovers. And then I fell off my chair, and then I got back up again. The rest of our lifetimes, how can he say that? And then 2 or 3 weeks later, he said what we're going to hear in this clip, which is really kind of silly because it's a complete turnaround, and we're going to try to examine maybe why he would do a complete turnaround in such a short period of time. So if you could, let's play that audio.
Well, I think we have encouraging signs in the market. We've come up since last month. This month was just flat. Last month was down.
The rest of the housing data looks very good, and I think digging into the details, it's a whole lot better than headlines.
Yeah.
But their numbers are always optimistic. That's why we started Case Schiller.
Yeah, and now they're
so we're on the upside and the down. I mean, we've got
on the upside and the down. That was actually 3 different guys. That was a little noisy. I apologize for that. It was on the floor of the stock exchange being interviewed by a CNBC reporter. And that was Schiller, his partner Case, and the president of, or one of the senior executives at S&P who owns the Case Schiller Index. And the 3 of them, they were looking pretty silly there. They looked very uncomfortable because they were actually trying to say something positive after having gone on record so many times, all the way up until a couple of weeks ago, saying this is going to be a generational housing crisis. And here they are saying, well, the numbers in April were pretty good compared to March. And, you can hear them fumbling through it. And what strikes me about this is that home prices are always up in April compared to March. Always. All right? If you go to my site and go to the blog, ownamerica.com, go to the blog tab, you're going to see that I posted up a chart for you, okay? It is a 15-year home price chart. It shows housing prices in the U.S. going back 15 years. And I highlighted the spring of every year, okay? So you'll see that every spring is highlighted. And what you'll see immediately, it becomes plainly evident that home prices have gone up every spring, during the spring, for the last 15 years. It's called the spring market. People generally are aware of this, all right? Especially in the New York area, the sun comes back out again, the flowers bloom, people get an optimistic feeling, and demand for real estate goes up in the spring. They call it the spring market, and when demand goes up, prices also go up. So every single spring for the last 15 years, home prices have gone up. So why would a Yale professor who is a famous author and commentator on the housing market, why would he fall for a blip on the chart? Why would he go from saying we have a 20-year generational housing crisis to, the numbers look pretty good this month compared to last month? Why would he do that? Well, one answer is I think I know who he wants to be president again in November, and so he's turning his shtick around right now because he wants to, you can't get away from that in the news these days. Everybody's got a horse in the political race, and his horse is the guy who's in the White House right now. He wants to keep him there, so now he obviously got taken to the woodshed when he was out there saying it's a generational housing crisis. Now it's got to be a quick turnaround. But the point is, if you stand back and look at real estate in the proper perspective, what you're going to find is, yes, we are approaching a recovery, okay? We have bottomed out. The market has bottomed out since about 2009. It's been bouncing around since 2009. So whenever you turn on the TV and you hear about how the home prices went up, the home prices went down. They went up again. They went down again. That's not bouncing around, okay? We have absorbed the entire bubble. Yes, there are still some foreclosures that are going to come out of the woodwork over the next few years and may pull home prices down a little bit, but that's a false bottom, right? If you look at that chart that I described, it shows the market soar during the last part of the second half of the last decade. Then you see the correction, and then you see it leveling off, and you get this very comfortable feeling that, okay, the pain is basically over when it comes to home prices across the country. Different pockets have different situations going on, of course, but if you try to look too close to the housing market, you'll make mistakes like Dr. Schiller makes, okay? And my purpose of bringing this up is that I want you to know that you basically can't trust anything you hear on channels like CNBC when it comes to housing. They are really, really good at analyzing Wall Street, but they're really bad at analyzing the housing market, and they will give you bad advice virtually every time. So bulletproof yourself, okay? You have to have some Teflon. If you're going to be able to make it in this game, you have to, first of all, understand that you can't look too close, you can't stand too close, and unfortunately, you can't trust most of the experts. You can trust this expert. Okay, I'm looking out for you. All right, how we doing on a break? Are we getting close? We're getting very close to a break, so I'm going to pick up this on the other side. You're listening to Rand on Real Estate on 77 WABC. When we get back, we're going to talk a little bit more about some other experts out there that are giving bad advice, and then get on the phone with an expert who's going to give some really good advice from Jacksonville Wealth Builders. Stay with us. Back in a moment.